Hello and welcome to the Glass House News radio show and podcast. My name is Tim Tibbles. If you're new here, I am the host and the CEO of Glass House Media. Today I've got a number of stories that we want to talk about, including a couple of breaking stories that happened over the weekend and today. But before we get to those, if you would please do me a favor, go subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, share this video with your friends so the dissemination of information grows. YouTube is cracking down on channels that are talking about voter fraud and how Biden may have cheated in this election. So it is the utmost importance that the dissemination of information and the information that I bring to you is shown before it gets removed. Now, on to the news. So the first thing I want to talk about today is I want to do a quick little fact check on the left for their lockdowns. So they've been talking about how lockdowns are slowing the spread of the coronavirus. Lockdowns are keeping us safe. Fact check false. This article from American Institute for Economic Research says the use of universal lockdowns in the event of the appearance of a new pathogen has no precedent. It has been a science experiment in real time with most of the human population used as lab rats, and the costs are legion. And it goes on to say the question is whether lockdowns worked to control the virus in a way that is scientifically verifiable. Based on the following studies, the answer is no, and for a variety of reasons: bad data and correlations, no causal demonstrations, and anomalous exceptions, and so on. Right? There is no, this article says, there is no relationship between lockdowns, or whatever the else people want to call them to make their true nature, and virus control. There is no relationship between lockdowns and virus control. So this quick Google search is enough to fact check the left. Is enough to say that we don't need lockdowns. We don't need stimulus bills. We don't need an increase in unemployment. And we don't need things like this. Which leads us to our next statement, the next story. The U.S. just passed this coronavirus stimulus bill, right? And it's going to send $600 to each American citizen. Meanwhile, for domestic funding, the Kennedy Center gets $26.4 million. The Smithsonian gets $1 billion. The National Art Gallery is $154 million. National Art and Humanities gets $167 million. The W. Wilson Center gets $14 million. Now that's just a few domestic funding for America. And then we get to foreign countries. That's right, America is funding international countries. Egypt gets 1.3 billion US dollars. This is tax money. Sudan gets 700 million. Ukraine 453 million. Israel 500 million. Nepal 130 million. Burma 135 million. Cambodia 85.5 million. Pakistan 25 million. And Asia RIA $1.4 billion. And the American citizens get $600 apiece. So is it any wonder that Americans are starting to rise up and say, no more. The lockdowns aren't working. We have proof of that from this American Institute for Economic Research. This article says there is no relationship between lockdowns and virus control. It doesn't work. It doesn't stop the virus. It doesn't slow the virus. It doesn't speed up the virus. There are a couple of models that would suggest that. But it's not true. There is no relationship between the two. We've seen that in states early on in the pandemic, California on the West Coast and New York and New Jersey in the Northeast states got hit hard. Italy locked their entire country down, and it had virtually no effect on how fast the virus spread and on how many people it killed. And this study now proves there is no more relationship. So, American citizens, please pull your head out of the sand. Tell everyone you know about this information. It cannot afford to wait. And I have a sneaking suspicion that as soon as Biden is inaugurated, all the lockdowns will mysteriously disappear. And all of our mainstream news outlets will say, look, we found this out in December. There's no relationship between lockdowns and virus control. We don't need to lock down anymore. I'm reporting on it now. I could have reported on it earlier, probably should have. I didn't. That's my own fault. But I'm telling you now. Because it's time for us to wake up. The establishment, the mainstream media, they're in cahoots. They're working together. They don't care about the little man like you and me. I care about the average American citizen because I am the average American citizen. I am. I'm working 2 part-time jobs. My wife is working a full-time job. We don't have any kids yet. So we are the average young Americans. The government is not doing much of anything for us. They're the ones that caused this problem to begin with. The government said, shut everything down. You can't work. So how are we supposed to get paid? Well, the government is now paying us. Effectively. Sort of. Kind of, but not really. The government caused this problem. The government is not going to solve the problem. So the only solution to this right now is to open everything back up. There is a vaccine, and it is becoming more and more widely available by the day. Mask, social distance. I got the virus a couple of months ago. About 4 or 5 weeks ago. I don't recommend it. I had a 102-degree fever for 3 days straight. I had diarrhea. I was vomiting. I had aches and chills and pains. I slept most of that time because it takes a lot of energy to fight off a virus. I still have a horrible cough that comes up every once in a while. I can't breathe properly. I used to be able to run a mile in under 7 minutes. Now it takes me about 8.5. This is the result of the coronavirus. It is no joke. It is real. And it is something that definitely needs to be feared and respected. But it does not mean don't go on with your lives as normal. It's not worth panicking over. Yes, fear and respect are a good thing to have for this virus, but it does not warrant panic. We're not in a zombie apocalypse. It's not the bubonic plague. Half of the country, half of the world is not going to lose its population. There's no need to panic over it. Meanwhile, in California, the Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom is spouting panic over this virus because it allows him to go and do whatever he wants. He says, lock everything down. Meanwhile, I'm going to go out to my favorite restaurant twice. Going to have Thanksgiving with my family. Because I can. Rules for thee, but not for me. This is what we call tyranny. And it's why Californians are now trying to oust him. They are trying to remove him from office. They're trying to get him primaried. They're trying to get vote recounts. They want him gone because he is a dictator and a tyrant. Rules for thee, but not for me. I've said it, I'll say it again. Slavery, the greatest form of slavery, is to control what someone thinks. The best way to control what they think is to control what they say. Well, the Democrats have control of what we see. Therefore, they control what we think. They control what we say. They control what we do. All because they control the media. Which is why I've built this company, Glass House Media. Don't throw stones in a glass house. Not if you want your walls to be broken in around you. So, Gavin Newsom, open up your country. The WHO is saying lockdowns are useless. Dr. Fauci has said lockdowns are useless. Deborah Birx is saying lockdowns are useless. The data on masks is mixed at best. Is there anything we can do to stop this virus? Yeah, vaccines. And they are out. We have 2 approved already. They're about 90 to 95% effective. So, if you haven't had the virus yet, go get the vaccine. If you don't want it, or if you trust these companies that have developed them, then go get the vaccine. Personally, I won't be getting it because I've already had it. I've got the antibodies. I can't get it for a while. But if you don't want to get it, if you want to continue to live your life normally, go get it. I will take the virus live on air if it helps promote confidence in this vaccine. But something that these people, average Americans, don't have confidence in is a leader that says rules for thee but not for me. So it's not surprising when Californians are trying to remove Gavin Newsom from office. When they see things like this, the Smithsonian gets $1 billion, Egypt gets $1.3 billion, but my wife and I are only going to get $1,200. That's pretty disgusting, if you ask me. It's not surprising that we see the Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer. Let me pull this up real quick because it really is a sight to see. Ooh, there we go. Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys stormed. There it is. Armed Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer members storm Oregon State Capitol building during anti-lockdown protests, shouting, "We just want our rights back." Can you blame them? They're being told you can't go to church. They're being told you can't operate and run your business. They're being told you can't have more than 8 people over for Christmas and Thanksgiving. You can't celebrate New Year's. There's a curfew between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. as if a curfew is going to stop people from spreading the virus. Less people are out at 10 p.m. than they are at any other point in the day. So how exactly is a curfew going to stop the virus? These things don't make sense. The federal government is a, shall we say, crappy institution in that a lot of things they do don't make sense. They're not a very efficient organization, which is why people on the libertarian right, like myself, say defund the federal government. As little government as possible. End the Fed. And these people, these Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer militia members, agree with me. About 300 anti-lockdown protesters gathered outside the Oregon State Capitol building and forced their way in on Monday during a lawmaker special session. Governor Kate Brown called the special session, and that was closed to the public to discuss pandemic relief, among other bills. The protest started around 9 a.m., comprised of members of the Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, and other far-right groups. Some seen carrying rifles. Oh, rifles, they're so scary. No, they're not. They're a defense and a weapon. They're just as much, actually they're more of a defense than they are a weapon. Firearms are used in America more to defend citizens than they are to attack and assault citizens. That's something that you won't be told on mainstream media. Information you can only get from alternative news sources like Glasshouse Media. Shortly after 9:30 a.m., police declared unlawful assembly and said protesters would be arrested if they did not disperse. The protesters shouted, "We just want our rights back," and arrest Kate Brown, angry with her handling of the pandemic. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to see a red wave explode in these blue states like Portland and Washington and California, because people have had it with the dictatorial and fascistic tendencies of the left. They are showing their true colors. They have spent the last 4 years, really past several decades, calling the right fascists. Meanwhile, they're the ones employing fascistic tendencies, silencing right-wing media online, employing curfews, saying you can't be out after 10 p.m., saying you can't celebrate Christmas with your family. These are fascistic tendencies. The right is saying, no, we just want to return to constitutional order, constitutional law. Everyone has a right to do whatever they want until it infringes on the rights of another. That is all the right is saying. That's all they've ever said. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And so is it surprising to now see that the left is simply saying, hey, look over there, while they are pulling your money out of your back pocket and giving it to Egypt, Sudan, Ukraine, Israel, Nepal, Burma, Cambodia, Pakistan, and Asia. Asia RIA, Asian countries. Shouldn't be, because they've been doing it for decades, meanwhile calling the right fascistic, homophobes, and bigots, and xenophobes, racists. No more. It's time to stand up. It's time to fight the power. So, I apologize for the lateness of this video today. It's been a bit of a crazy day. I will be back here tomorrow. I'm going to hopefully get this video out before noon, and then I'm going to do another one same time tomorrow night. So I'm going to start doing 2 videos a day for at least the next couple of weeks and see where it goes from there. Please try not to burn down the country while I'm gone. Even if you do, I'll be here tomorrow to cover it. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, and have a Merry Christmas.